Biden wants to give a boost to home buyers and builders. That's the alliteration headline of the day. So let's take a look at this. There's a little bullet point in here that I want to get to. And basically, I want the opinion of those of you who are watching the show. Will this work or will it not work? There used to be, oh man, was it Dave Letterman that used to have the Will It Float segment? Do you remember this segment on Dave Letterman or was it Conan O'Brien? Where they would take a thing and they would put it in the water and they would say, will this float or won't it float? And people would guess, and then they put it in the water and it would float or not float. So we'll play
Letterman.
Okay, so let's play Will It Float or Won't It Float with Biden's policy.
And let's start with a brick of cheese. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, pretty much. $15,000 first time home buyer tax credit. Will it float? What do you think? Is that going to work? A $15,000 first time home buyer tax credit. Well, is that going to help home buyers or home builders and boost the housing economy?
Well, let's say bye to Howard, first of all. Bye, Howard. Thanks for joining, buddy.
Bye, Howard. He's saying bye.
He has to go.
See you later, man.
I think he has to go to sleep now.
He probably has less care about this current topic, seeing as how he's not in our country.
Right. I don't know.
Brian Bookrow says, yeah, home buyer tax credits worked so well last time it was tried.
Forward / sarcasm. I just don't know how it would work. It would be great, right? I think a lot of these things that you're about to read are in theory, right? But I want to know how it would work.
Well, they're going to give $15,000 to people who buy a home for the first time.
Okay.
A tax credit.
But like where I want to add, like, is it income limited? Is it anyone? So if you make $4 million a year, are you going to get a $15,000 tax credit?
It is a home buyer tax credit, which would be assessed immediately by the buyer, thereby serving as down payment assistance.
Okay. Now, what if my taxes are $4,000 a year?
A tax credit could exacerbate inventory shortage. Let's see.
No, I think if it can work, if
I'm trying to find their opinion on it. They're not really sharing an opinion whether it would work or not. First time buyers are defined as those who have not purchased a home in the last 3 years.
Oh, that's interesting.
That made up 32% of all November buyers, according to the National Association of Realtors. Historically, that share is closer to 40%. Huh. So, home buyer tax credit. Let me get to some of the comments.
Yeah, is it Elizabeth? I assume it is her.
They had a first-time home buyer tax credit way back when. Yeah, it was $8,000. Is it house price dependent or income dependent? Yeah, I don't think those were either. I think it was just first-time buyers. So the question is, would it have the same impact as subsidies do? For instance, if there's a widget and it's for sale and this maker is making 1,000 widgets and then the government says, hey, this is a good product. We're going to give people $5,000 to go buy your widget. What happens to the price of the widget? Generally, it increases, generally $5,000. So would this increase prices again? Like this article kind of says it may exacerbate the supply issue, which would raise prices.
But if there's still no supply and more people want to take advantage of the low interest rates, which are waning, by the way, we're all going to die, and you get a tax credit, like, won't that bring more buyers to the market?
Yeah, that's a huge question. All right, Jonathan Bradish.
Yeah,
right. He says buyers are already riding a great rate. In certain states have first-time home buyer programs already, discounted rates and rebates. We need to support builders. Haha, first-time home builder.
Yeah.
I'm sure those would be problem-free. Yeah, that's funny.
A good one.
First-time home builder tax credit.
I haven't built a home in the last 3 years.
So from what I'm getting from the comments and also just kind of from history, it doesn't really serve to fix the issue in housing, which is supply side currently.
That's what that would be. So in theory, yes, it could work, but how though is my big question. So I can't really say it I guess I would say no, it won't work. It can't work. There's it could, it's a great thing to put on a piece of paper and tell people you're going to do, though.
Yeah. Wait, it just garbled. Hang on. Okay. And then, all right, so let's go to the next one. Urging big banks to get back into FHA lending. Okay, so how would big banks taking on more FHA loans or FHA loans taking a greater role for large banks impact the current housing issues?
But that would. So wait, is FHA not available to a chunk of the market?
Well, there's a bunch of big banks that have that don't want to do them.
Well, but that's fine to me. I don't send any of my buyers to big banks anyway.
Let's see. The FHA program shows exceptional profitability, which is much better than expected, and provides the Biden administration an opportunity to cut prices. Okay, translated. Trump made money with FHA. Now Biden can go in and slash the prices. Biden, that will really help entry-level homeowners, particularly minority homeowners, who turn to the FHA program more often. Not only does it help housing, how does that help housing? But it also helps the Biden administration deliver some of its social justice priorities. I don't know how that helps housing. All right, so you give people a tax credit and make the money they do have to borrow cheaper. So, and all of this is done in the bottom 1/3 of the market.
I also would like to ask, where's the money coming from?
Oh, that's you, buddy. Whenever you pay taxes, that's where the money comes from.
Is it?
That's how it works, my friend.
Explore that one.
Where did we get a comment? All right. So Dusty, she says my FHA and VA loans are not competitive offers right now.
Right.
Okay.
But if your buyers are limited to VA, I have both happening right now, VA and FHA clients. If that's what they can go with, does the credit help them because they can put more down, or?
Basically, so there's a 1.75% funding fee on the back of a FHA loan, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is that going to make that funding fee less expensive? Is that where the less expense comes from, or is it from the closing costs?
But I would say closing costs. But remember, they still can't go over the 3%. Well, I don't know if it's a California
FHA
thing.
loan, they can do up to 6% closing costs paid by seller, but
on a $300,000 house, that 15 grand is, I guess, 5%, right?
Yeah. Mike Elizabeth Brodell says the help politicians dole out isn't focused on the people that actually need it. Who is paying for this? Dusty says even if they are qualified and it's easy to get qualified, there are a ton of buyers in my market with cash and conventional loans with more liquid assets that will bid over the offer and come out of pocket with cash several thousand over appraisal. So my VA FHA buyers aren't getting homes.
It's definitely more of a struggle.
How is this fixing the issue of $15,000 tax credit and encouraging big banks to do FHA loans? I'm not seeing it. All right, so let's go to the next one. Encouraging.
You guys want to see a live? I just got a seller multiple counter for my VA offer. You want to see it?
Wait, what? No. What's it say?
Well, I'm curious because we came in very strong. So sorry, keep going on. I'm just going to read this.
Okay. All right. So the third thing is encouraging new construction of both single and multifamily housing.
Mm-hmm.
So how are they encouraging more construction? Let me find that section of this article, see if there's any specifics. It doesn't really get into the specifics of that one. So that one's kind of a vague proposal. I'm sure it's going to be some kind of credits or something to home builders, maybe some kind of tax credits or tax breaks to home builders that are building certain single family, multifamily housing. But that part is not really hashed out very well. So that's the one thing that affects supply side. See, Melissa Marr says, maybe. That is the one thing that could affect supply side economics, which could take some of the pressure off of both affordability and off of home prices and off of the supply as far as people not being able to find what they're looking for, etc. But there's no real details. These are just kind of ideas, proposals that he's putting forth right now.
Yeah, and that's awesome. You know, you got to do that. But again, so two things: is it actually possible? And you know, I always like to go back when they write there. Here's what do they do the first 100 days, right? Yeah. Here's what I'm gonna do the first 100 days. I like to go back on day 101 and go, well, you did one of those things. That's cool.
Yeah. That's one thing I was actually surprised that Trump did so much in the first 100 days.
Well, he was super stoked just to sign stuff and show everyone on the book. So he didn't care what he was doing. He was like, dude, put a thing in front of me that if it's from my 100 days list, sure, put it in front of me. I'm going to do it. Look at.
All right. So strengthening the Community Reinvestment Act, which is intended to help low and moderate income areas.
So so we have a homeless issue here in California.
No.
And LA is trying to do something about it. And they're trying to take monies that are usually allocated to these things. They're trying to allocate them to that. And they're actually working. They're actually building homes for these people. Now, I don't think they're addressing, I think they're Band-Aid fixing it instead of addressing the real problem, which I'm not going to get to on the show because it's kind of a personal opinion, which you can't talk about personal opinions live anymore unless, well, I guess when I go live, I talk about mine.
You can.
Dang it. Anyway, I love Zillow, by the way. I just have to say that. They're a competing brokerage, but so it's awesome. But then what is the real problem to fix it? So this is the kind of same thing. Are these Band-Aid fixes just to go, look at these cool things I'm doing, but it's really just going to kind of, what's that stuff where the dude slaps over the hole of water? What's that stuff called?
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about though.
Like there's still holes in the dam, but you're stopping it with a very, very, powerful substance, but there's still holes in your dam.
Well, and so one of the big problems with the Community Reinvestment Acts is although their intention is to improve these lower income areas, what winds up happening is gentrification.
Yeah. When
prove it, then you have actual builders and developers coming in that say, hey, this area looks better. Let's develop and build in it. And then people who were living there once can't afford it, and they also can't afford to rent in that area.
Yeah, and that's mainly what happened. You know, I guess you could call it the Silver Lake boom, you know, the hipsters and stuff where a lot of people moved into Silver Lake. That became a cool place to live. And now what it's done is which is cool because so there's two parts to it. It's excuse me, I'm going to burp. It's reinvigorated areas that were previously, a little rougher, but now homes in these areas are crazy expensive. So for people that have lived there for 50 years or they have the family home still, that's awesome. It helps increase their property value unless they haven't been able to update the home. So now that still stays lower, but are they ever going to sell? And then if they do, can somebody actually afford to buy that house that's not a flipper, an investor, or so on?
Ryan Bokros says the law of unintended consequences, which is exactly it. Vince, he's got the answer for it. It's flex paste.
Flex tape, I think what it is. Flex seal, flex tape. Flex.
Dusty Martin says that most offers are for asking, no closing costs, so it just makes it harder on my clients. I had one rejected over the weekend that offered $35,000 over asking, and one who offered, and the one who offered the same, no closing costs, concessions, and offered $20K over appraisal, and that was against 15 offers. Wow. Jonathan says FHA and VA can be more competitive if appraisals relax and stipulations or contingencies to sellers don't deal with all the nitpicking. A little bit of chipped paint needs to be corrected in December. Yeah. So basically, for those of you who may be watching that don't know, FHA and VA appraisals are a little more strenuous. Sometimes they'll pick out something like a handrail that needs to be put in, and sellers just don't want to deal with it. So they wind up going with a conventional mortgage with an appraiser who's a little more relaxed.
Now, I want to add to that because I work a lot of different price points that go from 300 grand, 250, 300 grand, all the way up to 1.2 million. So for me specifically, where it's easier in the lower end market to get an FHA offer accepted because you're more competing with that. You know, there's more of those and less of the I mean, you'll still do it with all cash, but there's more first-time buyers that are going FHA that you're competing with. But when you get into the 600, 700s, and 800s, it's really difficult. Oh, sorry, 6 and 7s. It's difficult because then you get into the 20% down, the conventional, and the all cash and stuff. And by the way, the counteroffer, they want no appraisal contingency.
Is that what they said? See?
Yeah.
Dusty Martin says, true dad, FHA, VA nitpicking is a big fear for sellers here.